Okay, so that's actually interesting, Phobic. Like something you said years ago coming back to bite you like a decade later. Um, I think with the internet and things being ever present, I'm starting to think people's sense of time has changed, right? Like, I'm trying to think of a good way to articulate this. I think it's that I was watching a Janet Jackson music video, and, you know, clearly a very young kid showed up, and they're like, wow, I hadn't heard about this comic. I mean, this comic, that's another... I hadn't heard about this song before, right? Like, they thought it was a new song. Like, I think it was like, it doesn't really matter. Like, the song, I guess the song just aged decently well. And so really young people finding it thought it was new. And, like, in that sense, it's like, stuff doesn't really go away, right? And so, like, I think people find something and, like, their idea, like, you know, they're just like, I found this now. It can be used, like, now. But it's like, you know, aside from a time and date stamp, it's just kind of like, this made me mad now, right? And so people still, and it's working currently as fuel for that, right? It's like I'm articulating this terribly, but fuel for like, this is upsetting now, so this is relevant now, even though it's 10 years old. And you couldn't do that before the internet, and we've never had that as a possibility before, right? Not like this. I mean, maybe if it was in a book, maybe if it was in some records, but like everybody has access to all that, right? And so, you know, it's about like people are kind of using the feelings of something in the past because it's affecting them in the present. And we don't really have culture or reaction or like an understanding based around that yet. Because like there's a point where that, because I mean, I think it has to reach a point where it just gets too ridiculous. And then maybe there will be some sort of adjustment where it's like, we have to understand that people change over time. Gestalt music makes you want to play again. Yeah, I love the Nier soundtrack. Death threats, censorship, justice, bend the knee, etc. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, exactly. Exactly. The Lovecraft kid being mad. That's exactly it. That is exactly it. That kid was mad about Lovecraft's racism, and I don't think he realized that Lovecraft has long been dead, you know? For some reason I felt like she was, it was just like, it was like that there were a person exist that they could go, you know, get mad at on Twitter. Just the way they were kind of talking about it. That's a perfect example. What's a Lovecraft? Stories are good. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just think it's funny because, and it was the same point I made before. Like people, like this person sounded like they wanted to cancel HP Lovecraft, right? The kind of anger they were expressing. But like people like say cancel that, but then go play, I mean, okay, well you can't play like any horror games, right? Like, and that's just because that was a long time ago. Lovecraft work, you enjoy it now that way goes to a race person made it. Well, yeah, that's the point. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, but in this person's mind, it was like, this dude was still alive, all right? And it's like, that's the past. Exactly, that's the past. Like, what are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do? Why are you just like, they're just like, that was one of the few times I had to like, that I was actively trying to calm the chat down, and they mistook how, because this person was just losing their mind, right? Like, and it was just like, the dude's, yeah, like, okay, we got cool horror stories. Yeah, he was the racist dude, that's bad, but the dude's dead. Increased music volume. Ignoring about the time period, old Looney Tune cartoons. Don't want to edit them. Pretending it never happened. Shimoneta. That's an anime that's hilarious where they censor sex education. The kids get no sex education and then they all hit puberty, and it's hilarious. I mean, you could just guess what happens, right? If it's a comedy especially. Yeah, well that's the thing. Okay, and that gets me to my next point, right? people, a lot of your life's on the internet. You turn on the internet, you have a feed that's catering to you, right? Giving you exactly what you want, all you want. It's like, hey, this Facebook's feed for you. Hey, this algorithm is picked for you. We're trying to create you a perfect world, and you get very used to having a perfect world, where you get what you want, and you hear only what you want. You only see opinions you what you want, and you're surrounded by a lot of people doing what you want, and you can go, maybe have wars with people who are the extreme opposite of where you stand at, right? But I mean, like, so of course people are in a headspace where they just feel that more things should change and bend, right? Because as far as you're concerned, if you're walking around like this most of the day, you're looking at a world that's adapting to you, you know? Like, the internet didn't used to be real life, right? But the internet is real life now, right? So, yeah, exactly, Zombie. You can't clear history. Exactly. Born in the 80s. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was still bad. Oh, Shimoneta. Yeah, Shimoneta is good. I mean, well, you know, its point is good. Like, it's funny. She's not a freak. She's not a freak, that white-haired girl. She's just uneducated about the feelings she's having, and that's the result you get. You can't, like, this erasing, if you erase history, it just happens again. Like, it's important that we learn this stuff, but we're about I click this button, I put on Twitter, and I need to see something that makes me happy. And I saw something that made me unhappy. What do I do when I see something that makes me unhappy? You know, I make a nasty tweet about it. I kill it. I try to get it away, because this is where my power kind of is. Like, you know, like, I'm not surprised that people think like that now, because we're conditioned to think that way, right? I don't know if that was clear, but oh, those weren't pea cookies, John. You should watch it. you should watch it. Those it's just you have to teach people. Freaking Shimoneta and Lovecraft. Yeah, right. Harmful ideas root inside of you, become racist, something like that. It's not hard to understand. Yeah. I mean, if you're not like it shouldn't be removed, but you should just add context. You just add education. You know, you just illuminate stuff. But it's like every little thing. Well, that's the man. I have so many points about this, man. Oh my goodness. Because there used to be, okay, so think about this. Like let's go to lighter and like even like more mundane things. Anybody ever hear, I mean, it's old news now, but the teacher that was like too hot and had like bikini pictures on Instagram, and she got fired or something like that happened to her, right? And I don't think there was anything else weird, like some story later where she was really like a sex offender or something crazy like that, right? It was just people felt it was inappropriate because she was shapely and because her Instagram had her in a bikini. And it's like you always had a couple, like, you know, soccer moms or something who are like, oh, she's wearing that, right? It's just like around the children, and then like, you know, her husband's like looking over like or something, you know, and getting mad. Like that always has happened. But now you have since you have the internet, like people, like you can have just a stronger mass of people finding each other like that, right? And so you can get like a stronger effect and a stronger result. And that's new. That's new. Right? That's new. And there's probably going to be a point where we're like, okay, we can't just fire everybody immediately. Boomer people are getting fired for work for places treating it as hate speech. I mean, Boomer, I did hear about the person getting fired. And once you start using loaded terms like hate speech, it's funny, but it kind of misses the point. I mean, it is being used as an insult. Like, If you insult a superior at work, you probably are gonna get fired. Calling boomer hate speech is kind of funny. So like dissect or detaching, like moving those two things apart. It's like, yeah, calling people negative stuff at work. You should be. Yeah, I mean it's fine that you'll be in any trouble there, but calling it hate speech. I don't know, man. I don't even know if I have. I don't even know if I have. It might be a little while before I can form meaningful thoughts about that, and I stop just laughing about it. Okay. I mean, like it's true. Okay, when working with my coworkers, I go back to work next month. Like, yeah, it is being used as a negative term, right? And you can't tell your boss. You're basically telling your boss, you're just old, right? That gets you fired. Like, it's not boomer being used in it. It's just when you attach the terms like hate speech and ageism, and that's like provokes more lols, right? But it's just like, yeah, if you want to keep your job, that's not how you conduct yourself. But that's like that, and I think it's kind of like there's kind of two separate things here, right? How you should conduct yourself at work, and that article where they're saying the Zoomers are weaponizing the term boomers against boomers and like acting like it's an attack, which is funny to me because I'm being called boomer here all the time, which is a lot of it, which it's just, I don't know, that confuses me. She's all right. Well, sometimes you have relationships with like that with your boss, right? But I mean, as a general, like if it's your first day on the job and you don't know anybody, you know, like you know, don't do that, right? And then you might find later on that you have a boss who, you know, appreciates that kind of humor. But if you don't, you should probably treat your superiors with respect if you want to keep your job, because you're not going to have it. Jobs should not be able to use social media as a reason to fire someone. It gets abused way too much. That, I mean, it's just like, so that like, that's something I kind of haven't really thought about. So is it like, did you used to get fired at work for your behavior at like maybe a wedding that your boss and some coworkers were also invited to? I guess that kind of did affect things, right? Potentially. Upper arm L. Like, so and like being on the internet, like this, so this is how I see the internet, right? You're in the park. You went out to the park, everybody else is out there, anybody could walk by, anybody could hear what you're saying. But like for some people, I guess it could be like you're standing out in front of the office, right? And you say something nasty. Like you may not be at your desk or inside the building, but if your boss and a coworker or somebody overhears that, that could reflect on you as a worker. So, I mean, I'm not like we could say like it shouldn't be considered, but it always will no matter what. To what extent? I think maybe it would be healthy if that was just defined, because we don't have rules or like a expectation, right? Like how much does your social media matter for work? And it's just like, again, this is a new thing, right? And so like we're getting these extreme reactions because we're like, you know, it's probably okay for a teacher to have bikini pictures of her vacation on her Instagram. That should not count against her work, right? But if she has an Instagram post where she's like, this is my dungeon where I torture children, right? And that's on Instagram, that should probably count against her as somebody who works in a job that involves a lot of children, right? So like, we have to just kind of decide, like where that line kind of sits. Representation that company can be held accountable for your actions. Yeah, so that's just her way of detention. Right? So like, we just have to we have to figure it out. Like we have to get used to this. It's just like, yeah, vacation pics in a bikini are fine. You know, but punishment dungeon probably isn't, right? And I like ideally, hopefully we will, but it's gonna take some time because we're building some new cultural things. Really, God, there's not a lot of good words to talk about this. I guess it's because it's so new. Work as a social media code of conduct. We list our workplace on if we list our workplace on social media, the repercussions if we say certain things we're seen as representing the company. Yeah, yeah. You want to tie the person to work too much. I mean, like every company will probably be a little different, right? For some companies that would matter more than other ones. Like my friends who work as social influencers, not social influencers, but like community managers for like the different video game companies. It's like when you're a community manager and you're like making connections like and you're representing yourself as a community manager, like your Twitter and like a lot of their social media stuff gets pretty tied in with their industry connections and whatnot, right? And it's like, and then like some companies you kind of post on the game account, but then you post on your own account too. Like there's certain jobs that intertwine pretty strongly that are hard to separate, and some that are easier. Like when I was QA testing, like nobody had to know I was a tester at these game companies, you know? But if I was directly interacting with the public through the job, like that's kind of different. So I mean, I do think it's kind of a I think there is a lot of case by case to it. Distinguish what's appropriate outside of work and inside. Older generations probably have a harder time seeing that versus ours. I mean, yeah, that's true too. I mean, that's just why we just gotta like having a code of conduct like that, right? Like, I think if a company writes down the expectation, you can choose to accept that job or not accept that job, right? Because you don't like the restrictions or you like the freedoms they offer you for your social media behavior. But it needs to be known beforehand, right? Like I can sit here and say like, this is my take and this is my standpoint on it, but companies' needs are different, individuals' needs are different, actions are different, jobs are all different, you know? And so it kind of varies.